Okay, whoop, welcome as I throw things around. Today we're going to do a little bit of work for the abdominals. And as we work the abdominals, we're also going to be working the psoas. So the psoas are an extension of the quadriceps. So they kind of come up here and then pin up and under your groin and come up into the back of the pelvis, and they connect right onto the inside of the back of the pelvis, so like on the inner wall of your pelvis. And then they also connect up here into the low back. So a lot of times when people are having low back issues, they're really having psoas issues. They're really having front of the thigh issues. So we want to address the throat of the thigh actually through the abdomen, because everything can get really bound up in here. And when we can soften up the tissue, especially of the lower abdomen, then we're able to actually palpate some of the psoas. So if you've ever had a massage therapist kind of like dig around the top edge of your hip bone and they slide their fingers down deep into your abdomen, they were palpating the psoas. If it hurt like hell, then that was definitely the psoas. So yes, we're going to kind of soften up that today. So what you're going to need is like this is a Coregeous ball. It's from Yoga Tune-Up. You can also use a Pilates ball. They're essentially the same and just slightly deflated. So it's essentially at like 90% capacity. If you don't have one of these, well, it's approaching summertime. So usually the grocery stores now, at least in the States, have those big bins of all the different balls that are like $1.50 each. So you can get one of those and just deflate it a little bit so that it's a little bit squishy. The more squishy it is, the more comfortable it's going to be. But you can do it without being deflated. It's just going to be more intense. The other option, this was something that I actually bought in Europe years ago. It's just like a kid's little toy soccer ball. This is a little smaller than I would have liked, but this is all I had. So this is what I went with. And I just deflated it a little bit. So you find like where the pin is, and it's the same with the ones at the grocery store. You find where the pin is and you just poke in there with like a little sharp pointy object and deflate it a little bit. So that it's a little soft and squishy. Again, it doesn't have to be soft and squishy, but it helps if it is soft and squishy. It just is a little bit more comfortable. So you can do this with an actual like regular size soccer ball / football, depending on where you are in the world. It needs to be round. You could even probably do this with a basketball. I've never tried it, but a squishy basketball would probably totally work as well. So you're going to need some type of squishy ball action situation for today's class. Always good to have some blocks around. I'm a big block fan. Nope, didn't make it. But yeah, we are going to use this today. If you have just eaten, you probably want to pause this and come back to it. Because yeah, we're going to be working in the belly. So it might also be nice to have a little bit of extra padding for your knees if your knees are sensitive. So you can just use a balled up shirt or a blanket or anything like that. But it is helpful to have a little padding on the knees, just because we're going to be kind of using the mat, but also moving in positions where we might be sliding the knee outside of the mat. So we are going to work from the right hip bone up, across, and then down to the left hip bone and back across. Okay. This can be really intense work, not just from a physical discomfort standpoint. If you've never done any type of soft tissue work in your belly, this can be quite intense. If you're somebody like me who has had surgery on their abdomen, this can be a little bit intense. Mamas out there, this area can be quite intense. You've got a lot of scar tissue in there. Anybody who's had any like gastro issues or stomach issues, if you had a lot of anxiety, like, that it's like you feel like your abdomen's in a knot. This is the place we hold all of the shit, literally and figuratively. So this area can be quite intense, not just on a physical standpoint, but also on an emotional standpoint. So anytime you're doing any form of body work or yoga, you might run face first into emotions, and that can be a little bit more sensitive as we're working this tissue. So just be really mindful of that. Be really open to receiving whatever your body wants to release. We're all at home, so make as much noise as you need to. And just honor whatever comes forward. Sometimes it's absolutely nothing, and then other days you just move into something, and so stay with it, breathe into it, allow that stuff to come through, because those are stuck memories and emotions in your body. And if you don't stay present with them, they're going to continue to be there. But if they've shown up, then that means, hey, I'm ready to be let go of. So take this opportunity to breathe into it and to, really honor what's ready to leave your body, and breathe into it. And again, we're at home, be as loud as you need to be, scream whatever profanities you need to scream, and pause it if you need to, just like take a minute, take some breaths, be more present within your body. It's always fine to pause it and just take a breather. Okay. So we do this also kind of like in a plank position. So it can be a little bit intense in the arms. So if you need to take a break at any point for that, feel free. The way to lessen the pressure, if it's too much pressure, is to take more pressure into your feet and into your arms. Okay. So just like any plank, you're going to take more pressure out of the pelvis as you lift your weight off of the ball using your arms and feet. I think that's it for an introduction on what to expect. This isn't all we're going to do, but I want to start here today. You will definitely notice a change in your body. You might have an epic poop tomorrow. I hope you have an epic poop tomorrow. So yeah, a lot of stuff can really get moving on many different levels. So yeah, let's give this a start. So you're going to start just on your hips, kind of in Sphinx pose. And you're going to lean over to that left side and just plug the ball right between the pubic bone and the hip bone. Okay? So right in there. And then you're going to drop your weight into it. So most gentle variation is the one I'm in right now, where I still have my left hip on the ground, my left leg is on the ground, my right knee is on the ground, my elbows are on the ground, and I'm just kind of like leaning into the ball. I'm not really doing a whole lot of pressure. To take that up a notch, you just lift your hips up so that you're firmly on the ball. My knees are still down, my feet, my elbows, all of that is still down. Okay. And if I wanted to go deeper, I could lift one leg, I could lift the other leg. But what we're trying to do here is soften into the belly. So I really want to try to relax that a little bit more. So if it feels like I'm engaging my core, then I need to find another way to relax. Okay. Ooh. And this is a huge just time for breathing. We're going to be here for a little bit, and the idea is just to continue to soften and relax. So we're melting into that sensation, and you can kind of seek out the sensation. So like for me, that feels like, oh, it's a little too medial. It's a little too in towards the body. I want it out towards the hip a little more, because that's where my body is saying, come over here. This is where we need the work. So listen to your body, kind of slide around, feel things out. And I'm actually getting sensation on some scar tissue that I have, but I'm also feeling it start to press towards that psoas that's attached in the back of the pelvis. And I'm also getting some piriformis activity. So which might seem really odd, but it's not, because our body is, we separate our body into different pieces. Our body sees itself as one whole piece. It's not my left arm and my right arm. It's not the bicep and tricep. It's just the body. So as we soften things, because everything is connected and intertwined and interwoven, you will find that things hurt and like, that's a weird spot. And that's just the way it is. It can be really, really interesting. So it feels like I need to stay really soft right now through my legs, but that I need to put a little more pressure. So how I would do that is I'm going to take my left knee and bring it out to the side. So this is why I was saying it's nice to have a blanket or something, because then you can pad that knee as it's out to the side. And that just opens up the front of my pelvis a little more, stretches the front of the pelvis wider. And now I'm feeling it in that right hip a little bit more, just on the inner wall of the right hip bone. And that's really nice in my body right now. So a lot of this, like any of the times when we're doing ball work, and really in any of our yoga poses, a lot of this is exploratory work. If you've taken class with me for any amount of time, you know that I'm very much a like move, shake, wiggle, see what you find kind of teacher. I want to encourage exploration and curiosity in your body and not just lead you through a series of poses. Being aware of your breath. Are you holding the breath? See if you can lengthen it out a little bit more on that inhale and really surrender on the exhale. Where is the physical sensation in the body? Where can you create more space by softening? So from here, we are just going to, if you've got a leg out at all, you're going to bring that leg back. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up my toes and my knees and just roll myself backwards. So I'm rolling the ball up. So it's between my right hip bone and my right floating rib. Okay. And that's a whole different sensation. There's a whole different level of pressure in my body. So again, if I want as little weight as possible, I lean that left hip onto the floor. I drop the right knee down onto the floor. I lower the left rib cage towards the floor. And then as I move more central, I get a deeper sensation. I can lift up those legs as long as I can stay soft in my belly. Can also bring the left knee out to create a little bit more weight and space. Just softening, breathing into this. Notice if there's any tension in the tongue or in the mouth. as we're a little higher here, if you want more pressure, you can also drop the head and chest down towards the floor. That's going to get quite a bit more intense. Wherever you are, just continue to be with your breath. Be really present with the sensations in your body. And since we're up near the rib cage, this can be much more intense. Usually we have actually tucked our internal organs up. So our liver, which is what we're on right now, can often get shoved up and stuck up under our rib cage, as well as our stomach, which is where we're going next. So if you've ever thrown up, chances are your stomach has been lifted up and stuck into a position that it's not ideal for it to be in. Oh. And slowly backing out of this, bringing yourself back into that Sphinx position. We're going to just roll the body over so that the ball is right tucked up in that belly, right where the ribs come together. You might immediately find some gas. And this one tends to be harder to soften the intensity of. It's easy to deepen the intensity just by dropping the elbows out and bringing the head down. Softening it can be a little bit hard here. So this might be an opportunity for the blocks if you need to soften and bringing the elbows up. So bringing a pillow or some blocks in under the elbows is going to lift some weight out of that ball and make this less intense. And again, if you want to go more intense, you take the elbows out and the head and chest down. And just noticing the breath. So right here, we're working right in the very center of the diaphragm. You'll probably feel a little bit of pulsation happening with your heartbeat, and it might be a little more challenging to breathe. It will be much easier to breathe once we finish the 3 points across. So we've done the right point, we're doing the center point, we'll do the left point. It's going to be much easier to breathe once we've done these because we're actually manipulating our diaphragm muscles. So we'll have more space for that diaphragm, which is like a balloon that is attached to your bottom ribs that puffs down as we inhale. So it separates the lower part of the torso cavity from the upper part of the torso cavity. So your lungs and your heart are not necessarily in the same space
as your stomach, liver, small intestine, large intestine, spleen, pancreas, all that jazz. They are separated by this diaphragm that expands downwards every time you take a deep breath in. The cool thing about that is that every time you take a deep breath in, you are massaging your internal organs. So your lungs expand, and they hug your heart, and they get compressed by the rib cage. And as the diaphragm drops down, it presses into the stomach and the liver and the gallbladder, pancreas, spleen, kidneys, small and large intestines, bladder, all of that stuff. So the deeper you breathe and the more intentionally you take those inhales, the more you're massaging and stimulating your digestion. So when somebody has really sluggish digestion, I will oftentimes start them on just deep breaths to stimulate metabolism, because we want to get in there and start to massage all of those organs to get them a little more happy and working a little bit better. And again, move into sensation, move towards it as much as you can. Take yourself to your edge and breathe deeply. And slowly back out of this. And then we're just going to wiggle ourselves over towards the right. So now that ball is lodged between your left lower ribs and your left hip bone. Again, if you need more support, you drop the right side of the body down to take the weight off of the left. You need more intensity, lean into the ball. Maybe you lift up a leg or two, but again, you want to be able to keep the belly soft. So another option is to bring that right knee out now. Oh, breathing deeply. And the reason that we work in this direction, so that we start on the right lower abdomen and we move up and across and then down, is because that is the way our body digests. So we want to be pushing things instead of sending them backwards. We don't need to constipate ourselves by doing this abdominal work. We want to do the opposite. And some things you might notice as we kind of regulate the nervous system through doing this work, which is what is actually happening. We are regulating our nervous system. You might notice that you have more saliva in your mouth, so your salivary glands will increase. Your belly is going to start to gurgle, and you might start yawning. So that's all really normal stuff to start happening. The sense of sleepiness, when we've done the other therapy ball work, you probably noticed that as well. There is a sleepiness that kind of starts. But also, as we're doing this, there's hormones being dumped into our body. Just like with any massage, there's hormones being dumped into our body, which is going to make us a little more sedentary.
I'm just seeing if you can find a deeper sense of surrender here for the next couple breaths before we move into the next spot. And then from here, we are going to roll up into that left hip bone. So getting the ball kind of right between the hip bone and the pubic bone. Again, most gentle variation is the right hip and leg down on the ground. And you can start to come center, maybe lift those legs up as long as you can stay soft in the belly. And lifting that knee out to the side for a little bit more intensity. Reconnecting to your breath if you've lost that connection. So we'll slowly move out of this. Now this next point is going to be just above the pubic bone, right? Essentially where your bladder or uterus are. So if you have to pee, do it now. If you're menstruating, this one's going to be up to you because this might feel amazing or this might feel like absolute hell. Up to you. Check it out. Feel it out. But this is right on top of the pubic bone. So right above the pubic bone. Below the belly button. You know, it's kind of a couple finger widths below the belly button, really. And this area, especially on women, can be very intense. Because we've had so much trauma there, typically through menstruation, through sexual experiences. So in this pose, if it feels like it's a little too intense, the way to take some of the intensity out would be to put a pillow or blocks in under your knees here, and under your kind of right above your knees on the thigh. That'd be a way to take a little bit of the intensity out. And a couple more deep breaths here. To come out of this, you're going to press yourself slowly backwards. We're going to come into a wide knee child's pose. So big toes together, knees as wide as is comfortable, dropping the chest and the head down. Really focusing your breath into your belly and your low back for this.
Slowly moving onto all fours. Let's take a couple cat-cows, so rounding the back, drawing your abdomen up in towards your spine as much as you can. Tuck the chin, look for the belly button. And then reversing, lifting those sitting bones up, sending the heart forward, the shoulders down. Swapping, rolling through the spine, tucking, looking for the belly, sucking the belly up. And then arching, lifting the sitting bones, lifting the heart, drop the shoulders, stretch down into the belly. And then we're going to round again. And I just want you to spend a couple breaths here, exploring what does that belly feel like? We've just opened all of that up. Do you have access to some of those muscles more than you did before, where you can really draw them up into the internal organs? Is there more space in your spine and your hips, and your rib cage? And then slowly start to move in the opposite direction, moving all the way through as much as you can. And then again, start to explore. Deep breaths, move around. How does that feel different? And come back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes, lift up and back into a downward facing dog. And really make use of all that space we've created in the belly. So you want to feel your hips slide up and away from your rib cage. So the belly and the low back and the side waists get really long and stretchy, like you're pulling on some taffy. Roll yourself forward into plank, engaging the core. It's kind of exploring what that core feels like now. We're going to pick up the right foot, step it forward between the two hands. Roll yourself up, coming up into this crescent lunge. So we've just opened up the belly. This should feel a little different than usual. And we're driving the left hip forward. We're taking that left thigh bone and driving it down and forwards towards the right heel. So there's a really strong push down and forward through the whole left leg. And then you're lifting the pubic bone in the front of the hips up. You can add arms here if you'd like. You can keep the hands, on your hips. You can take just this little side bend to open up through that left side a little bit more. That feels good. But keep plugging the left thigh, left hip down and forward. And we bring the hands back down onto the mat. Step the right foot back. Take a trip into down dog again. Stretching everything out, feeling that belly, low back, and side bodies. Just be like taffy, slowly stretching up and back. Rolling forward into plank, sending the left foot forward. Rolling up. This time we plug the right hip, right thigh, down and forward. We lift the pubic bone and the hip bones up. And finding a spot for the hands, whether it's on the hips, arms up, or that little side bend to the left. Keep sending the right hip, right thigh down and forward. And returning back to the floor with the hands, taking that left foot back into plank,
One more trip up and back into downward facing dog. Finding some nice length through the waist. Oh. Coming down onto all fours again. And let's use this ball again for a little back bend, supported back bend. If you have a smaller ball and it doesn't feel like it's a good option, you always have the option to take your blocks and you'll just kind of use the block in this manner. You might need to also have a block for under your head. You might not. So it's nice to have them handy in case you need them. Well, what this is going to look like, we take the ball right behind the heart center, so right in between the shoulder blades. Set ourselves back onto it. Drop the head back. So again, you might need a pillow or a block under your head. And the arms drop out. And then we focus on allowing all of that tissue in our belly, from our ribs down to our hip bones and pubic bone, allow all that to really soften. Soften, 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 soften. So every exhale, feeling that tissue relaxing even more. And now you can stay here for your Shavasana, or if you'd like to remove the ball or the block and come flat on your back, that's also a lovely option. And if you haven't taken the ball out from behind your back, you're going to want to do that so that you're flat on the floor just for a couple breaths before we come out of this. Take these last couple breaths to see if you can just feel the muscles along the inside of the back of your pelvis softening. And begin to deepen your breath, wiggling your fingers and your toes, arms and legs. So you get a nice stretch, arms up past your head, reach through the fingers, reach through the toes. Stretch that belly. Again, that should feel new and different. And then very slowly bending one knee, then the other. Roll over onto one side. Whew. Pressing up. Into seated. Closing your eyes. And then do a little bit more nervous system regulation. So we haven't done enough already. So we're going to do 2 inhales, hold, and a long exhale. So we're going to take one long, kind of like, if you look at your breath as a whole, we're going to do like 2/3. Little mini pause, one more third to top it up, a pause, and then a long exhale. Okay? We take a deep breath in, pause, take another breath in, exhale. And we inhale, pause, inhale again, pause, long exhale. Inhale, pause, inhale, pause, long exhale. Inhale, pause, inhale again, pause, long exhale. Inhale, pause, inhale again, pause, long exhale.
Again, inhale. Pause. Inhale again. Pause. Long exhale. Inhale. Pause. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Inhale. Pause. Inhale again. Pause. Long exhale. Got two more. Inhale. Pause. Inhale again. Pause. And exhale. One more time. We're going to inhale. Pause. Inhale again. Pause. And exhale. A couple rounds of natural breath. Beautiful. Bring your hands together. Thank you so much for regulating your nervous system with me today and opening up your belly and your digestion and releasing lots of stuck stuff from the belly. Namaste.